The case of the Alcasser girls is one of the most infamous and shocking crimes in recent Spanish history. The brutality of the crime, the media controversy surrounding it, and the persistent doubts about the investigation have made it a recurring topic in public discourse and in the collective memory of the country. It all began on November 13, 1992, in the small town of Alcasser, in the province of Valencia. On that day, 3 teenagers, Miriam Garcia, 14, Tony Gomez, 15, and Desiree Hernandez, 14, decided to attend a party at the Cooler nightclub in the nearby town of Picassent. The nightclub was a popular spot for young people in the area, and the girls were excited about going out. However, they did not have direct transportation to reach the nightclub, which was a few kilometers away. They decided to hitchhike along the CV 422 road, a common practice at the time, though not without risks. They were last seen on the road by several witnesses, but they never made it to the nightclub. That same night, when they did not return home, their families became worried and reported their disappearance to the civil guard. The disappearance of the Alcasser girls quickly became a matter of national interest. The civil guard launched an extensive search, but weeks went by without any trace of the girls. Meanwhile, the media began to cover the case intensively, with television programs almost exclusively dedicated to the disappearance. The girls' families made multiple public appeals for information that could help find them. During the 75 days the search lasted, numerous search operations were conducted in the area, and various leads were investigated, but all turned out to be fruitless. The lack of concrete progress began to generate frustration and despair among the families and the public. On January 27, 1993, 2 beekeepers working in the mountainous area of La Romana, near Tews, discovered a human arm protruding from the ground. Alarmed, they notified the civil guard, who arrived at the scene and began digging. What they found was horrifying: the bodies of Miriam, Tony, and Desiree, buried in a shallow grave. The girls had been brutally tortured, raped, and murdered. The autopsies revealed terrifying details about the girls' last hours. They had been subjected to unimaginable suffering, and forensic evidence indicated that the crime had been committed with extreme cruelty. The discovery of the bodies ended the search but only marked the beginning of a new phase of the case, the hunt for those responsible. The investigation quickly focused on 2 suspects, Antonio Angles and Miguel Ricart, 2 habitual criminals in the area. According to the official version, Angles and Ricart had picked up the girls in their car while they were hitchhiking and had taken them to an abandoned house in La Romana, where they committed the crimes. Miguel Ricart was arrested shortly after the bodies were found. In his initial statement, he admitted to participating in the crimes, though he claimed that Antonio Angles was the main perpetrator. Ricart provided details that matched forensic evidence and the crime scene, leading authorities to consider his confession valid. Antonio Angles, on the other hand, managed to escape. His escape became one of the most famous and prolonged in Spanish criminal history. He was last seen in Lisbon, Portugal, where it is believed he boarded a ship bound for Ireland. However, he was never seen again, and his whereabouts remain a mystery to this day. The failure to capture Angles generated great frustration and contributed to conspiracy theories surrounding the case. Miguel Ricart's trial began in May 1997. It was a highly media-driven process, with extensive coverage by the media. Ricart was sentenced to 170 years in prison for the kidnapping, rape, and murder of the Alcasser girls. However, due to Spanish law, the effective sentence was limited to 30 years. The Alcasser case was plagued by controversies. From the beginning, there were criticisms of how the investigation was handled. Some people, including the victims' families, expressed doubts about the official version of events. Conspiracy theories emerged, suggesting that other people, possibly with power or influence, might have been involved in the crimes or helped cover them up. Additionally, the role of the media was widely questioned. The television programs that covered the case in real time were accused of sensationalism and of exploiting the family's pain for ratings. Some TV channels even showed explicit images and macabre details of the case, sparking a national debate about the ethical limits of journalism. The case of the Alcasser girls left an indelible mark on Spanish society. Beyond the horror of the crime itself, The case exposed the vulnerability of young people and raised questions about safety in small Spanish towns. The victims' families became symbols of the fight for justice, and their pain resonated across the country. Over the years, the case has been the subject of multiple documentaries, books, and television programs that have tried to unravel the mysteries and controversies that still surround it. In 2019, Netflix released a documentary series titled El Caso Alcasser, which reignited interest in the story and brought the doubts about the official version back to the forefront. Miguel Ricart was released in 2013, after serving 21 years of his sentence, due to the repeal of the Parrot Doctrine, which limited prison benefits. His release generated outrage and fear among the population, and Ricart has kept a low profile since then. The case of the Alcasser girls remains, to this day, an example of how a crime can profoundly affect a nation. The tragedy of Miriam, Tony, and Desiree continues to be remembered as a symbol of horror and injustice, and their memory endures as a constant call for the protection of the most vulnerable in society.